That was Chopin's Nocturne in D minor.
I just
Welcome to
recorded all
NPR.
that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Maryland Living Podcast. It is January 21st, 2025. I am John Reynolds, and I am here with
Pete FETTIG
and
Megan Burke.
I'm glad you all are here. How's everybody?
We're blessed to be here.
I mean, I would have liked to have gotten started about 30 minutes ago, but we've been sitting here looking at pictures of your granddaughter, which, I mean, I'm not complaining.
Well, you
but
don't complain.
valuable use of our time.
It's definitely a valuable use of all of our time. And
She's freaking adorable.
thank you, Pete.
She really is.
For those that don't
Pete's
know.
a true friend.
Oh, okay. Okay. For those that don't know, at the end of every conversation or class taught by John, he always asks, was this a valuable use of your time?
That's true.
So we sarcastically use that every chance we get.
Every chance.
As I've said before, I get no respect among my colleagues.
Get a sprinkling of it.
We have some fun things to talk about
Yeah,
going on
do
in
we now?
Maryland. One is my latest obsession, but first I want to talk about a new pizza place that is in Annapolis. I mean, who doesn't love pizza?
I love pizza.
I know I do. Timber Pizza Company opened in Annapolis at 192 West Street. And actually, I did not realize this, but they have several locations, 6 to be exact, which is kind of
Is
exciting.
it that many? I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Virginia? Tell us more.
Yeah, North Carolina. They also have 3 food trucks, which is really cool.
Awesome.
But,
cool.
Speaking of pizza, and I know I'm driving you guys crazy with my new Dave Portnoy obsession.
It's okay.
I know, but it is just
It's
like
pretty
so
intriguing.
crazy. It's so cool. Anyway, he came back to Maryland and was in Glen Burnie at a Wawa
I saw.
trying out the pizza.
Yeah.
I've always wondered about Wawa pizza.
Well, now you know
I can
that
stop
it is
wondering
not good.
He basically trashed Wawa Pizza.
He really did.
2 point something, which is out of 10.
Yeah.
2.8. 2.8.
Was it 2.8?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it ranked higher than the Costco pizza that he tried, which was
Made me
like,
hurt a little bit inside.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you like
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I know it's cheaper and it's heavier, but it's still, it's unique and it's, it's a lot of cheese, but it's delicious.
Okay,
And it's
okay.
cheap. It's like $1.99 a piece.
But you know that now a bunch of people that care about Dave Portnoy and his, what he's doing with pizza are going to go try Wawa Pizza, including me. I want to know
Yeah.
now
Yep.
and test it out myself.
No, I think I think you're absolutely
And he
right.
ranked it higher than Costco, so it can't be the worst thing.
I'll report back. But
Good.
yeah. Anyway, I just think it's so cool. I mean, he's been all over the place, he's been all over the world doing this, but just up and down the East Coast is
Yeah.
super cool. And then ends up in Glen Burnie, right around the corner from us, which is kind of cool.
And we discussed in a previous episode that he was in Baltimore, and he rated Little Brick Oven.
Tiny brick
Tiny-
oven.
yeah.
He
And he
rated
also
them
gave
very highly and gave them a
$60,000.
$60,000, which
Yep.
is
ton
cool.
of money
Afloat.
to keep them in business. Speaking of bad pizza and Baltimore, what a great segue into good pizza, good
Okay.
food in Baltimore. Baltimore's Restaurant Week is coming up this month, January 24th to February 2nd. 100 dining establishments are participating. They've been doing this since 2006, and
Okay.
it's a way to encourage discovery of new restaurants in the city. The participating restaurants offer discounts through that week. So if you need more information, I would encourage you to check out BaltimoreRestaurantWeek.com.
Cool. I'll definitely check it out. I love finding new restaurants.
Absolutely.
So we have something else new coming up. Pete, do you want to talk about the new island?
Wow, this is big news. When's the last time you had a new island pop up in the Chesapeake Bay? So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Maryland Port Administration are finalizing a proposal to resurrect an island that has been swallowed up by the bay.
Okay.
James Island. So essentially, just over time, erosion, it just wiped out James Island. So this new island would amount to 2,000 acres of what is now just open water because, that island's gone. It will be a prime habitat for migratory birds and provide some good protection for the eastern shore from further erosion. That's the biggest problem with any of these islands. They're going to use sediment that gets dredged from the bay's shipping channel. So it's kind of cool. They're repurposing it.
Okay.
What that used to go to,
Well, that's interesting because I don't think a lot of people realize, Pete, that the bay is really, it's shallow
yeah,
as heck.
it's very shallow.
And so they constantly have to be dredging it.
Oh,
There's
okay, I
no
didn't
option.
realize
Yeah,
that.
it's like
Okay.
6 feet typically if you don't do the dredging, and you need like 50 feet for these
Right,
big boats to
right.
come
yeah.
through. And if it all goes as planned, it will become the largest man-made island of the Chesapeake Bay. That's a fun fact for you.
There you go.
Interesting.
So where is this, you may ask? Well, this
I was wondering.
this will be berthed north of Taylor's Island. So if you look at the sort of the map of the Chesapeake Bay, it's kind of more towards the bottom of the mouth. It's Taylor's Island is just outside of the little Chop Tank River. So the main Chop Tank's north of that, and then there's a little Chop Tank, and it's kind of west of Dorchester County if you're looking at a map. So it's kind of towards the bottom. Essentially.
Okay.
So it's definitely north of the Potomac. So it's Maryland and not.
Oh, it's definitely
Virginia,
Maryland. Yeah.
okay.
Yep. And the all that sediment was previously used to kind of rebuild Poplar Island. So it's just kind of it's a great. We need all the this wildlife sanctuary we can get. So it's kind of a cool
And
concept.
if it helps to keep the Chesapeake Bay healthy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
2,000 acres is not small.
no.
I heard there was a little bit of controversy about it where they were talking about the sediment and pulling it, what they were dredging up. Was that safe?
Well, and if you consider them pulling from the port of Baltimore, if you've seen any of those guys who do the magnetic fishing out there,
okay.
I mean, they pull up everything and anything.
yeah. I'm
Lots of
sure.
those scooters and those batteries. So it can't be ideal, but they're definitely going to be testing the sediment. So there's still question marks as to what this is going to look like at the end. But I think they're already doing it. So to have a new island is going to be a good benefit to the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, cool.
Very good.
Biggest
Yeah.
estuary. in
So
the
is this
world.
definitely happening, or
Yeah, from everything I've read, it's the proposal's finalized. It's just I don't know when they actually start work,
Yeah.
but it sounds like everything's a go.
cool?
So,
That's awesome.
pretty cool. Yep.
And then there's some new news near you up in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's actually something that those of us who live in that area have been kind of hoping and keeping our fingers crossed for. There is a very large park adjacent to my neighborhood in West Baltimore. It's called Gwynns Falls / Leakin Park. Gwynns
Yeah.
Falls Leakin Park. It is a huge urban forest. In fact, it is the second largest woodland park in the entire country. It's 1,216 acres
Okay.
overall.
Wow, that's huge.
It's a beautiful park, has 15 miles of trails, a lot of old growth trees. Honestly, guys, it's a beautiful park. The downside is that since 1947, I believe it is, they have found 75 dead bodies in there. And I'm not laughing.
There's going to be lots of daisies then, because
They pushed up the
daisies.
daisies.
heavily.
Yeah.
That was good.
and there was
Forestation
one of the dead bodies or murders that was actually quite famous.
Super.
Heyman Lee, and for those of you who listen to podcasts, you may have heard Heyman Lee's name before. She was kind of immortalized in the Serial podcast, which I guess, at this point is over 10 years old, but it was really the podcast that kind of launched true crime podcasts.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Put 'em on the map.
And it was very well done, and it was about this young woman from Woodlawn, Maryland. Who's
High school lovers, right? Wasn't that the
Yeah, they went to Woodlawn High, and her dead body, unfortunately, was found in Gwynns Falls Leakin Park. Her boyfriend at the time, Adnan Syed, was accused
Yeah.
of the murder and is currently in prison.
It's been in the news recently again.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's always something going on.
Yeah,
with
the
it.
Serial podcast kind of presented some facts that maybe weren't in the trial itself. There's
Okay.
a lot of sympathy for him now.
Yeah.
HBO also did a pretty interesting documentary about that story as well.
Okay.
It's not to do a deep dive into the
Yeah,
Serial
yeah.
podcast, but that's one of the bodies that was found in Gwynns Falls Leakin Park.
And we'll put that park on the map, really, for so many people.
Yeah, it really did, but
We shine
it's
a light
just
on
like, unfortunately, it's like so many other things about Baltimore. Is it's kind of the negative stuff that
Yeah.
tends to put it on the
Yeah,
map,
yeah.
like The
Yep.
Wire and all
Right.
that.
Right.
But take it from someone who can literally walk to that park.
Yeah.
It's at the end of my street. It's a beautiful park. During the COVID lockdowns, my wife and I and our youngest daughter would go on hikes. It's
Nice.
Awesome.
it's a great park. Well, long story short, come to find out, Baltimore City is the only jurisdiction in the state of Maryland that does not have a state park. All of the other counties do.
Okay.
And so what's being proposed, and Mayor Brandon Scott and Governor Wes Moore have kind of signed off on this, and it's all kind of in the pre-planning stages, but it looks very likely that Gwynns Falls Leakin Park will become a state park in partnership with the city,
Okay.
which just means additional resources, improvement in the infrastructure there,
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
greater security.
Sure.
So it's going to be a great boon for that part of Baltimore City.
Which is your backyard. That's awesome.
It is my
Yeah.
backyard, and,
Yeah.
and it'll be a good thing. And for those of you who have never visited Gwynns Falls Park, in spite of everything that we just said, I would seriously encourage people to visit it. It is truly a beautiful park, and this sounds kind of
Contrite.
well, crappy, but the bodies have been found in the park, but
The
they
other ones are
don't seem to be killed in the park.
Okay. Well,
Oh, that
that's
helps.
on the
Yeah.
positive.
So I think if you exercise relative safety precautions,
Yeah.
keep your eyes open, enjoy some time in the park.
I mean, having it changed into a state park is only going to make it better. And putting my realtor hat on for just a second, it's only going to improve the property values
Look at
too
you.
of the houses in that area.
Yep.
Because if the park is better, then the houses and the neighborhoods around it are better.
And the thing is, when you have
Definitely.
a park that size, it requires a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And Baltimore is a big city, but it's not a huge city.
Right. Yeah.
And it has limited resources. So having the state partner in the management and oversight of the park is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
And the park is pretty historically significant. Not only is it so big, again, it's the second largest woodland park in the U.S. It was created way back in 1901 by the Olmsted brothers, Frederick Law Olmsted. So,
Okay.
I'm a nerd about these kinds of things, but he and his brothers had a firm, and they not only created neighborhoods throughout the region, but they also created parks. Central Park in New York City was one of their creations.
That is
okay.
quite
So-
the park there.
Yeah, so keep an eye on Gwynns Falls Park. I'll be reporting updates as they
Yeah.
come in, but it's looking good.
You know what's another park that's kind of nearby is Centennial Park
Ooh,
in
yeah.
Columbia. I love that area so much. And I love that park. I kind of stumbled upon it years ago because I would take the kids up. There's and I know you know a lot about it because you've been up there, John, a lot.
right.
But there's I think it's a 2.6 mile path that goes around.
Yes,
Yep.
it is
the,
2.6 miles.
I just made it seem like Pete, you know nothing
I know
about
nothing. I've
Centennial
never been there.
Park.
I didn't grow up here.
You know nothing about it, John and I.
He knows more, though. I'll give you credit.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
but
I grew up in that area.
Yeah,
so
That's
yeah.
why you know a lot more.
But I've been up there a lot lately because I have a listing coming up in Beaverbrook, which is just such a great neighborhood.
Yeah, that's
It's-
literally right across
Yeah.
from Centennial Park.
yeah. As soon as you come out of the neighborhood, there's the opening to one of the
I know
openings
houses
for the
never come
park.
up for
So
sale there, so that's kind of,
Yeah.
that makes this a bigger deal. Even.
no, I'm excited about this
That's a
one.
really nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's older. It predates Columbia.
So there's
so
a
it-
savings there.
There is a
right?
savings there. The fine folks in Beaverbrook don't have to pay the CPRA, the Columbia Park and Recreation
Right.
Assessment, which is used to cover all of Columbia's open space and recreational facilities like the pools and the bike paths and all of that.
Yeah.
How would one even assess such a figure? How would you come across that number?
Well, it's funny because, I think a lot of people, as they're trying to decide where in Columbia they want to live, you have to take that into consideration
It's a
because it
considerable amount of
is, it's an additional tax that
Yep.
you're being charged.
It's essentially a tax. And I mean, but there is, you're getting something for the tax.
Right, exactly.
You're getting access
Yeah.
to all of Columbia's park and recreation.
Yeah.
And
which
correct
is
me if
true.
I'm
There's
wrong. I
definitely
mean,
benefit.
most of Columbia is being charged this.
Most of Columbia is, but you have to go back and remember the history of Columbia. It was farmland for the
Right.
most part, with a few subdivisions kind of dotted in the area. Beaverbrook, one of them.
Right.
View Estates,
Yep. My
another
buddy
one.
John
Right.
Saw grew up there.
Yeah.
So what is so great though, I think, is that people get really excited when a property comes up that is not charged this
Yeah.
fee. And this is one of those communities. However, you can still take advantage of all the amazing amenities by just paying a little bit extra.
Absolutely. You
yeah.
may pay a little bit more to join, to be part of, like, I think Columbia has 35 neighborhood pools, and you pay a little bit more and you have access to all of that.
Yeah.
If you're in a non-CPRA designated
Tax
neighborhood.
district.
Yeah.
Do you know how to tell those apart from?
I do actually, which
yeah, I've
I
heard.
thought not a lot of people know this, and I love telling people because it's kind of cool.
I'm surprised how many people
Me too.
don't know this.
Yeah.
So Columbia, the area that's zoned as Newtown, it's the zoning is actually called Newtown, and that's the city of Columbia that is subject to the CPRA tax. All of those road signs are blue. And those previous neighborhoods like Beaverbrook, where your listing is coming up, Megan, and All View Estates and Columbia Hills, and there are a few other, their road signs are what color?
Green.
Green.
They're green, absolutely.
And what's
so-
that tell you?
Well, it will tell you that they could either be green or brown because I'm colorblind. So thank you for helping me with
We're
that.
trying to pick on you there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. That's funny.
So yeah, fun fact.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, yeah, and that park is just so great too. Going back to the park, but it's 337 acres, which is just it's amazing. And there's actually you can rent little paddle boats there. I've taken my kids fishing there.
So back in the day, well, let me ask you this, Megan, because you have little kids.
Yeah.
here. Have you ever taken your kids? It's adjacent to Centennial Park, but where the old Enchanted Forest
Oh, yeah.
is set up.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's
what's that
called
one?
the Ely Oak Farm.
Yes.
The Elio
now.
Farm, and that was
Yeah.
all part of Senator Clark's farm. And where
Oh, okay.
Centennial Park is now, that was also part of Senator Clark's farm.
Okay, that's a really cool place. My kids
Yeah.
have loved. We've been to birthday parties there.
Yeah, it's a really cool place.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough to remember when they started building Centennial Park, and my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, her and I walking through the hole that they had dug in the ground where the lake would be
Cool.
eventually. Yeah, it was
That's
kind
cool.
of cool.
There's a little ice cream shack there too, so you can rent a little paddle boat, get some ice cream, go fishing. There's a great playground there. Yeah, you could spend the whole day.
You know, it's really cool. In a later episode, we might want to talk about the real Enchanted Forest.
Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
remember that.
Because everything that you've seen with your kids at Ellie Oak Farm, that's all stuff that was relocated from an amusement park called Enchanted Forest, which was right up the road on Route 40. in
okay,
American City
okay.
Back in the day.
Just old enough to remember
It's cool
all
because
that.
when
Yeah.
I sell a house, I like to talk about, and I know we all do, we like to talk about the area that it's in and the history. And because people love hearing that. And I think it's important to mention, too, kind of going back to that CPRA fee, how much it is, because I'm sure we're talking about it now and people want to know. But it's actually 68 cents for every $100 of 50% of your state assessed property
That
valuation.
sounds too much like algebra.
Yeah.
It's
We get to do
complicated.
that math with all of our new listings there. So you'll be doing that soon.
I will. Yeah, it's complicated. But anyway, if you haven't been to Centennial Park, I highly recommend it.
I highly recommend it too. And if you haven't been to Gwynns
I'll
Falls
third
Park,
that.
I highly recommend that one too.
Yeah, both.
Absolutely.
Well, we want to talk a little bit about upcoming events, and I wanted to ask you guys if you've ever been to the sock burning in Annapolis.
I can't
just-
believe I haven't.
I
'cause
just
used to live in
learned about the
Annapolis.
sock burning this morning.
It's also an oyster festival.
It
You're leaving
is.
out the whole oyster part of it.
Yeah,
because
I know.
Annapolis
That's the
is
most
very
important part.
Oyster centric.
But this is, it's to celebrate, and this has been going on since the late 1970s. It's been a tradition in Annapolis. It's to celebrate the spring equinox and the beginning of boating season.
Oh, yeah.
And so everyone just brings their socks. And I've seen pictures. I know the governor has gone before. I don't know if he goes every year. But it's just a really cool tradition where everyone like literally burns their socks in a just kind of in a show of, summer's here, spring.
No, I think that's great. And
Yeah.
I learned a fun fact about you, Megan, that
Oh,
you just
this is
don't-
concerning.
You usually don't wear
Can't
socks
go
at
because
all.
you don't wear socks.
So what, exactly. Like what would you
I'll have to buy a pair of socks
just
to burn.
them?
It takes weather like this for it to break out.
I'm
like
wearing
a pair of
socks today. It's 12 degrees outside.
It's
Without
very,
the wind
very
chill.
cold.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not a big sock person. I've actually, gosh, I even hesitate to say. I just really don't even wear them with shoes or boots or sneakers. I
That
hate
explains
socks.
the smell around here.
It does. Yeah.
So this whole sock burn thing, it's going to be March 22nd.
From 12 to 4, and you do need tickets. And
They go live Thursday.
March 22nd is, I think that's Maryland Day, or during the Maryland Day weekend festivities.
I think it's a Saturday, and I
Yeah,
know
I
that
think it is.
they already have an inclement weather day assigned for the 23rd, same time, 12 to 4.
Yeah, which is good because if it rains, it probably wouldn't be fun to stand outside and burn
stinky
your
burning
socks. But
and, wet fire, not ideal.
But yeah, Maryland Day is coming too. So, and that is right around the same time. But yeah, March 22nd, 12 to 4, get your tickets.
Yep.
They drink tickets. It should be fun. And then
They'll sell out. Yeah. And they don't allow dogs for this event. It's kind of important to point that out. Annapolis is super dog centric.
No dogs.
Yeah, I think maybe just because of the fire, but
Yeah.
they don't want strollers either. It's a big turnout, so they're very particular on
Okay.
on some of those,
I want to go
requirements.
this year. I'm going to go. We've always talked about going
It
and never
sounds
been.
fun.
Yeah.
We'll be in Deep Creek, but I would definitely go otherwise.
And then another fun event coming up, we've got Mallow Hill.
Yeah, Mallow
This is a
Hill,
big
their
one.
album release. Their album release event is Saturday. This coming Saturday,
Yeah, this Saturday.
The 25th. And I spoke to my son Chris, who's in the band, and they were pleased to announce that they've sold out.
Oh, I knew they'd sell out.
That's amazing.
I'm
Good for
so
them.
proud of them.
Anybody's
Yeah.
heard them wants to be a part of this.
Yeah, and
They're amazing.
I don't know if it's true, but I certainly kind of hope that maybe our promotion of them on this podcast helped a little bit.
Yeah.
If you've gotten your tickets, we're looking forward to seeing you there. We'll all
We're
be
definitely
there.
going to be there. Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, that's all that we have for today.
Wow.
What? That was like a sleek,
That was just
trim,
slam the door in your
economical podcast.
I think it was. I agree.
Yeah.
We're getting better.
We are getting better. We're getting
Yeah.
better. I'm just excited about how many people are listening. I mean, I hope that people are learning something from what we are.
It literally is. Honest.
I hope people are learning
All over
something.
the world.
And I hope I'm excited for some exciting guests that we have coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, I really want to thank our previous guests, Barry Hess and Wendy Hess.
Oh, that was awesome.
It was such a nice conversation.
Perfect first
with
guest
them.
to
And they
have.
were, I agree.
Yeah.
And they were so gracious to give us their time and to
Yeah.
allow us to
Got to chat before and after, and it was just
share
Yeah.
their story with us.
I love hearing they do have a unique Maryland story and just how they've met and just
deep-rooted. Yeah.
business that they've grown, and they're really just a part of the community, which is kind of the people that we want to feature on this podcast. So yeah, I'm excited, and I hope that people learned something new about Keller Williams flagship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
because it's a pretty
Home base.
unique Maryland place to do business.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. Well, again, thank you everyone for listening. And if you would like to find us, John, where can they email us if they have a suggestion for a guest or a suggestion for a topic we should
They
be talking
can send
about?
us a text directly in the podcast show notes. There's a link there that says,
Oh, I think I just got one.
send us a text. They can also email us too.
Yes, at marylandpodcast@gmail.com. And then we also have an Instagram page, Maryland Living Podcast.
Maryland Living Podcast.
Yeah, Maryland Living Podcast.
And we are on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio podcast.
And just recently on YouTube.
We just launched our podcast on YouTube. Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Later.